Greetings, everyone. I am Erebus Rex, your GentlemanEldritch, here again to talk to you about something special. Do you like anime? Do you like spicy anime? Do you like the works of H.P. Lovecraft? Well, what if I told you you could have all three? Let me introduce you to the 2001 anime, Mystery of the Necronomicon, a Lovecraft anime. Well now, let's see how well it can tell an original Lovecraft story. Mystery of the Necronomicon, Book of the Dead, that last part is a bit redundant, begins our story with a brief explanation of what the Necronomicon is.
ミコン、西暦730年、アブドゥル・アルハザードによりダマスカスで書かれた魔導書。この魔導書には複雑怪奇な魔術の奥義が記されており、魔導書そのものが邪悪な生命を宿すと言われる魔導書の中の魔導書。
This description is correct for the most part. Abdul al-Hazard is the original author of the book, and it is considered one of the greatest sources of eldritch knowledge and power. But the anime then says it is believed that the book does not exist intact anywhere in the world. Well, I find this hard to believe. Don't get me wrong, the original book's whereabouts are unknown. But we do know that copies of the book do exist, and each copy differs from the next due to different interpretations and additions made to the book. But getting back to the anime, we go into a dream sequence involving blood, eyes, nudity, and tentacles. My favorite kind of dream. Also, I will be telling the story out of order, so you can understand the story a little better. Also, I can't show you what's wrong with this person, but maybe this obscure reference can help you.
Face.
Yes. His face. Oh. The eyes. Nose. Skin. It's coming off.
After that, our protagonist awakens from his nightmare, only to be greeted by a woman who explains that they are on vacation at a ski resort. She also wonders if he was dreaming about his lost memories from 6 years ago. Curious. And this is where we are introduced to our protagonist, Satoshi Suzaki, and his sister, Asuka Kashiagi. Okay, daughter then. Adoptive daughter. I see we were throwing that no chroma card out early. Satoshi is talking to a woman named Mina Suzui, who informs him that she will be arriving the following day to the resort, and she will expect payment for the information she delivered on a previous case. But just as Satoshi and Asuka try to enjoy the vacation, we are interrupted with a murder of a family, with a murderer who also appears to really like eyeballs. But who am I to talk? Satoshi makes his way to the crime scene, but accidentally runs into a mysterious man walking away from the crime scene. Satoshi manages to talk his way through the police barriers and questions a police officer about the murders. It is also here that Satoshi notices two men fighting on the upper floors, but break it up when they notice they are being watched. With no suspects in custody for the murders, many guests choose to leave the resort out of fear they may be next, leaving only 6 rooms occupied. Satoshi goes to talk to the manager, who happens to be one of the men who were fighting before, and is also the one who found the family murdered in their room. Suspicious. This is also the moment we learn that Satoshi is a private detective from Tokyo. This was hinted earlier in the episode, but this is the first time he outright says it. This is also a very nice nod to Lovecraft, as a common trope in his stories is a protagonist who is looking for answers, or simply just a private detective. The manager says he was dropping off the family's dry cleaning, but no one would answer the door, when the door apparently magically opens up, and upon walking in, he discovers the murder scene. Interestingly, the family also had their faces removed, just like in Satoshi's dream. Satoshi leaves and gets some sleep for the night, before waking up to Asuka, who escorts the manager in, who informs Satoshi of another murder. The manager, while doing a wake-up call to another guest, receives no answer and goes to check on the guest. In the bathtub, he finds Shigeomi Haruda, but let's call him Ugly Bastard for reasons that will be made clear later on. But not only is Ugly Bastard dead, he's also missing his face. The manager also informs Satoshi that the snowstorm outside has knocked out the cell service, which is why the manager turned to Satoshi for help. As Satoshi is leaving, he finds something. a rather out-of-place button. Seeing a pattern in the killings, Satoshi asks the manager for a list of the remaining guests. With Ugly Bastard dead, that leaves 5 guests plus the manager at the resort. The remaining guests are Ando, Nesu, Shikamatsu, Fukuyawa, Seo, and the detective and the non-daughter. With the list in hand, Satoshi begins to check alibis. Kazuki Ando, who happens to be the man who was fighting with the manager earlier. Ando appears to be in a sour mood, and only agrees to talk to Satoshi after the mention of another murder is brought up. It doesn't do much good, as Ando claims to have been in his room alone the whole night. When questioned why he would continue to stay at the resort when murders have occurred, he explains he has no place else to go. You see, Ando has recently lost his job and is facing bankruptcy. His wife and 2 children, apparently not wanting to tie themselves to the sinking ship that is Ando, also left him. He says all this while throwing darts at a picture of his family. Cold-hearted. Ando then explains that the only real estate he has left is his condo at the resort. This caused him to despair, as he wanted to sell the condo to get some money, but these murders will undoubtedly cause the value of the condo to drop. Satoshi leaves broke Ando and moves on to the next guest. Toshiaki Nezu. Upon answering the door, Satoshi recognizes Nesu as the mysterious man who was walking away from the first crime scene. Nesu invites Satoshi in and explains that he owns a small import and export company, and claims that during the murders last night he was watching TV alone in his room. Also, I don't know if it's just me, but Nesu kind of reminds me of Lovecraft. There is even some evidence for this, as Nesu has quite the library in his room. Much like Lovecraft, who once claimed that he would give up all the furniture in his house and sleep on the floor before letting go of his private library. But that's just an observation. Getting back to Nezu, he explains that he travels a lot and collects antique books from places he visits. He pulls out one book he says is a medical book from ancient Egypt that supposedly holds the secret to eternal life. But then Nezu asks a very interesting question.
Necronomicon という言葉を聞いたことがありますか?
Nesu apparently knows about the existence of the Necronomicon and talks about a method of gaining eternal life that supposedly exists within the book. Which honestly is possible. As stated earlier, additions have been made to the copies of the Necronomicon, so some may have slipped a eternal life spell in there, or a recipe for banana nut bread. Honestly, both are possible. But this talk of eternal life causes Satoshi distress, and forces him to remember his dream. After calming down, he believes he has heard enough and moves on to the next guest. Haruka Shigematsu and Nozomi Fukuyawa. Haruka is Nozomi's tutor and a friend of the family, who explains she is watching Nozomi while her parents are away doing research. It is here that Satoshi notices something about Haruka. She's missing a button on her shirt. But before he can ask her about it, Nozomi walks in and something is wrong. Nozomi has lost her ability to speak. Satoshi confusingly claims she is suffering from motion aphasia. Satoshi then explains that this is probably due to a strong mental shock, which would just make this a form of psychosomatic mutism. But I realize we're diving way too deep into medical terminology, so moving on. Upon questioning both of them of what could have possibly caused this, both plead ignorance. All of this makes Satoshi suspect Haruka, but without proof, all he can do is theorize. He leaves and makes his way back to his room, where he runs into a familiar face.
Mina.
一日早く仕事が片付いちゃった。
That's certainly one way to say hello. When questioned how she got to the resort in a snowstorm, Mina explains she got a ride with the police, who have also returned. Satoshi explains that he needs her help, but once again explains that her quote-unquote payment is a lot. He agrees, and after a brief setup, Mina hacks into the National Police Agency network to see the photos of the first crime scene. After reviewing the photos, Satoshi concludes that the murders of the family and Ugly Bastard were done by the same murderer. He also deduces that the murderer must be left-handed due to a punctured eye found at the scene. After a quick brain blast, he realizes the only left-handed person he has met is Nezu. Satoshi asks Mina to get the manager and the police to meet him in Nezu's room. On the way, he can't seem to shake the feeling that he has met Nezu somewhere before. Satoshi rings the doorbell to no answer, but finds the door unlocked. Upon entering, Satoshi is shocked at what he finds: another faceless corpse. Satoshi is in shock at this turn of events, but is brought to his senses by a ringing phone. He answers it only to hear a mysterious voice taunt him that his most likely suspect is dead. Blood pours from the phone onto his hands, causing Satoshi to freak out and begin to hallucinate. Unfortunately for Satoshi, the police walk in on him at this very moment, and of course arrest him for murder since he has literal blood on his hands, but all he can do is yell out, "I didn't do it." And that's the end of the first episode. We did skip over some important parts, but we will save those for the next episode when they become more relevant. But all in all, this is a typical Lovecraftian story setup. Protagonist with a mysterious past, looking for answers to a current mystery that reveals details about his own past. Dreams that become warnings of things to come in an isolated setting, preventing a swift escape. I am intrigued to see where this story goes, but we will have to wait till the next episode to find out more. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing. Leave a like and comment down below. Take care.